Missing much.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Jeff, did you take a donut with you? It's a long ways.
I dropped some crumbs along the way so I could find my way back.
All right, we are live on YouTube, everyone, just so you know.
Thank you, Tim.
I was telling Tim, I was like, I could have just stayed home. I didn't think of that. Oh, well.
Oh, yeah. We're glad you're here.
It's very pleasant down here. It's nice and quiet.
Cool, too.
We've got the donuts.
There you go.
That's true.
Do we need to send somebody down there to check on you every now and then?
I can hear Tim not far away from me, so I'm probably okay.
All right.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, Miss Campbell, we can.
Thank you.
Welcome. One, two, three, 4, 5.
Tim, we can't, I know it's not a big thing, but I can't bring my picture up.
He's on his way.
And I'm good down here until Megan shows up at 9. And then she'd be like, get out of my office.
Well, it's great. Megan's back. She gonna bring those twins with her. We can see you now, Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you.
No, Eric found me. Darn it.
He's one of the good guys. Okay, we're about 3 minutes away. Morning, Mr. De Leon.
Morning, Chairman.
Looks like they let you in already.
That's kind of neat what you did with the flags there, Doc.
Thanks. I saw that someplace and I thought, you know, I think I can do that. We love our state and we love our country.
Amen, brother.
One minute.
I have a dark side down here, don't I?
You always have had a dark side. It's just nobody's ever seen it till now.
Only the shadow knows.
Now we're making him into a superhero.
I'll take that.
Morning, Lauren.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Sweetwater County Board of County Commissioners meeting this Tuesday, October 20th, 2020. And I will like to notice we have a quorum present, all commissioners, and please stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Moving on, first thing we have is the approval of our agenda. Commissioners, part of that approval will be some amendments to the agenda. First of all, we will request that when we approve the agenda, we amend it to remove tab C, which is Dr. Dale from Western Wyoming Community College. She will not be able to join us this morning due to several other commitments and issues at the college. Also, we'll remove tab O, which is Mr. Aramosby, our county attorney, to talk with us about replacing vacant positions in the attorney's office since he's in trial today. He's requested to push that off until November 3rd. Then also adding tab O back, and it'll be the Eden Valley Waste District Board appointments. This is due to a resignation. And then also under executive session, we'll add real estate. So with commissioners, any other amendments to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Smith.
I move that we approve the agenda with the amendments as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next order of business is approval of the minutes of October 6th, 2020. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield.
make a motion that we approve the minutes from the October 6, 2020 meeting as presented.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lloyd. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up under tab B is acceptance of the bills. That's the approve the EALs, approve the monthly reports, approve of the hospital maintenance expenditures. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Smith.
I move that we approve the county vouchers and warrants, the EAL, the monthly reports, and the hospital maintenance expenses as presented.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on, we have public hearing, planning and zoning. And with us this morning is Mr. Bingham out of planning and zoning. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome.
You can hear me okay?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So our first public hearing is Union Telephone. The property owner is Tom and Linda Tolliver. Kathy Campbell is the applicant. And we'll show you it's Township 18 North, Range 107 West, Section 25. It's the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter. The address is 72 Scotts Bottom Road in Green River, and southeast of the I-80 eastbound on-ramp out of Green River. So as you're leaving and exiting Green River and you look to the south, to your right, there's an existing tower there right now, and that is the location of this new tower. So if you remember, I believe it was back in August or July, but back in the summertime, we had quite a few public hearings for Union Telephone. They are expanding their network, And so that is the reason for these larger towers. They want to construct an 80-foot tower, and it's to, of course, expand their network. And they're also proposing to enlarge their lease area, which is currently 50 by 50, to 100 by 100 to allow ground space for the 35 by 35 foundation. This will also provide a support of a potential 20-foot expansion in the future. And they build these towers so that you can do future co-locates on it, meaning other carriers could possibly locate on the tower. With cell towers, they need to meet FAA and FCC regulations. Because of the height of the tower, it will not require lighting, so it will not have a blinking light on it because it is under that 199 feet. And here's the location. If you can see it, it's this, here's Green River. It's not too far from the location of the city boundaries, but here's I-80, it's to the south of it, and there's a small lease portion up there, and that's the location of where it's going. Here's the site plan, shows you the existing tower to the right, and then what's in orange there is the new tower, the 80-foot tower. And this is your just surrounding area to the north, east, south, and west. And if you can look at the west picture, you can also look to the distance there, there's the existing tower. So the big things with conditional uses, we got to make sure it meets our review criteria. Again, with the development, we want to make sure it's contributing in an orderly manner and to the economic and social well-being of county residents. And the applicant has stated Union is dedicated to have reliable cellular service for their customers, as well as serving the heavy flow of traffic on I-80 and Wyoming businesses throughout Green River and Rock Springs. And this service and coverage area will expand to aid the existing businesses in Sweetwater County and provide for better service to first responders, which is very important. And as far as adversely affecting adjacent properties, this is on a ridge where you typically see cell towers, so it's all open range, undeveloped property around it, so we don't see any adverse effects. And we also see it compatible because of the location being in a remote area. Has adequate facilities they have provided easements for power, access, and telecom. Adequate provisions for maintenance of use. They're increasing the lease area, so it'll meet all the setbacks. Minimize to the greatest degree we don't see any adverse effects on the natural environment, and it will not it's an unmanned site, so we don't see any traffic congestion issues, and it will meet all the provisions of the zoning resolution. So as far as comments that have come in, Sweetwater Emergency Management had stated to no concerns, and Thomas and Linda Tulliver, they had no problems if it's okay with their brother, and staff recommends approval of the request. At the October 14th, 2020 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the commission voted 5-0 to approve the request. There's a recommendation, Mr. Chairman, and staff recommends approval. That's all we have.
Thank you, Mr. Bingham. Are the Teleferros with us?
Mr. Chairman, it'll be Kathy Campbell representing Union Telephone.
Thank you. Yeah, Ms. Campbell, do you have anything to add to this presentation?
No, well, no, not really. I believe Eric covered all of it. But this is part of the first responders, making sure that we do have coverage for them. So I'm good for what Eric told us.
Very good. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Bingham or Ms. Campbell? With no questions at this time, this resolution will need to be opened up for a public hearing. So I'll open up the floor for a public hearing for any public comments regarding this conditional use permit communication tower. Tim, we're getting a little feedback on voices. Can you mute anybody that's not muted? Thank you. Any public comment come in, Tim?
There's no public comment at this time.
At this time? Very good. We'll give it just a few more seconds here. With that, I'll close the public comment period. Commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding this resolution?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Johnson.
I'd make a motion to approve resolution 20-10-ZO-01 for approval of a conditional use permit for a cell tower as presented.
We have a motion to approve this conditional use permit. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Shanefield. Any further discussions, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield.
I just wanted to tell Union congratulations. They just received a USDA grant funding. It was a presentation done last week in Casper, and so congratulations on your continuing expansion to help better connect our state.
Thank you. Yes, I'll relay that to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Any other discussion, commissioners? No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Campbell. And again, congratulations on the grant award.
Yes, thank you. You have a wonderful day.
You too, and thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Our next planning and zoning is conditional use permit truck repair for Mr. Casey Jones. Eric, are you out there?
I am now. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay, so our property owner is Casey Jones. The applicant is Casey Jones, and the legal description is 1.95 acres in the northeast, southeast quarters of Section 4, Township 19 North, Range 105 West. Address is 20 Hillcrest Lane, Rock Springs. It's at the intersection of Yellowstone and Hillcrest Lane. Its zoning is general commercial, which is C. And the infrastructure, it's on Hillcrest Lane, which is a county road, which comes off of Yellowstone. We'll show you a map here to show you the exact location of it. It's Rocky Mountain Power. It has all the utilities there. It's in the White Mountain Water and Sewer District, so it has water and sewer, fire hydrants. Fire District 1 is the responding agency. So the applicant is seeking conditional use approval, and it's at 20 Hillcrest Lane. This business, just so you know, truck repair businesses are a conditional use in commercial. That's why we're hearing this. The business will be operated out of a 3,200 square foot building. It was constructed in 2019, and the site also has a 2472 square foot home with 2 additional utility dwellings. I'm going to go right to the map to kind of explain things. It's better to see the picture of this here. So we do have some parcels that are north of Rock Springs for the commissioners that are new on the board and haven't seen this before. They're split zone properties. You see a lot of these down on Signal Drive, and they are, the way they're situated is that you have your heavy industry, which is commercial or light industrial at the front of the property on the road, and then you'll have the residential in the back. This one, they put the commercial side on where Yellowstone is, where the traffic, that little triangular piece you just see adjacent to it, it is owned by the BLM, so it's undeveloped right there. And so Mr. Jones is proposing to operate the trucking business on the commercial side, and the R2, which is residential, is where he has his home. You can see to the properties to the south, you have also split zone properties, which is commercial and R2, residential in the back, and then an R2 undeveloped parcel to the south. And then you can see Fairway Estates is kind of in the bottom right-hand corner there, which is R1, and then you have all your commercial zoning that you see when you pass the fairgrounds out there and all that commercial. I mean, I would say our commercial is light industrial, so it looks industrial in nature also out there. Then you have R1, this parcel, which is all undeveloped right now to the north. And then you have I believe these are storage units that are located on this commercially zoned property up here. Okay, that's the location. As far as the location of on the map here, this is on the upper right-hand corner is where the building exists. This is an older aerial photography, older site plan when it was originally built in 2019. So that's where it's being proposed to be operated. And this shows you, if you look at this north picture, the building is in the background, so you can see those high doors so that they can accommodate trucks to go in there and be repaired. That's the existing site right now. And then to the south, you can see, and to the west, residential. And then to the east, it's undeveloped, and that's Yellowstone Road located in that picture. So as far as you want to make sure it's consistent, compatible with the comprehensive plan, we see truck repair businesses in commercially zoned properties, so we do see it contributing to economic and social well-being of the area. It shall not adversely affect adjacent property owners, and so we did receive a comment that was negative. It was to the adjacent property owner. I'll show you on the map here. It was this property just located to the left of the property, right here, this R2 parcel. And that came in, and his biggest concerns were the noise levels. So we went out there, and we do have noise regulations for Sweetwater County. They have to maintain 60 decibels. And when we took, Jim Zimmerman went out there, took noise measurements. We didn't get anything with the trucks running out there, because that was what the concern was. We didn't get one reading over 47 decibels. So the Sweetwater County noise levels will be maintained by this project. The request is compatible with the existing reliable uses of adjacent properties. Again, like I stated, we do see truck repair businesses on commercially zoned parcels. Does it have adequate public facilities? It has a facility already constructed on there where he will be doing his work, his maintenance work. Jim Zimmerman went out, had to inspect the building to make sure it met the International Fire Code standards. It did pass the inspection, so it does meet the IFC requirements. The site is also within the White Mountain Water and Sewer District, so fire hydrants are readily available for fire suppression. Adequate provisions, I've kind of went over that already. We do not see any adverse effects on the natural environment. As far as traffic congestion, because of how open the area is, it has adequate space for the storing of trucks. So if there are trucks in overflow, we don't see, and as far as how far back the building is, we don't see any stacking issues, traffic stacking issues for traffic congestion. As far as adverse effects on public health, safety, and welfare, we've met all the nuisance regulations and the fire code, and the request does conform to all of the rest of the zoning resolution provisions. So then code enforcement did state that, it did pass the inspection. Emergency management approves of the conditional use. YDOT had no comments. County engineer did state the existing approach location onto Hillcrest will need to be utilized. The approach may be modified to allow for a larger turning radius. If the approach is modified, the applicant will need to obtain an approach permit from the county engineering. And county engineer also stated direct access on the Yellowstone will not be allowed, even if BLM allows access across their parcel. And the reason for that is concerns of too many accesses on Yellowstone Road and safety concerns. Dean Muir did state, this is that adjacent property owner, this is supposed to be a residential area. I do not want to listen to the tractors and impacts running on interfering with my sleep and normally quiet neighborhood. The applicant did speak with Dean Muir since the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and I'll leave it to him to explain his conversation with him. As far as staff's reviewed the request and recommends approval. And at the Planning and Zoning Commission, they voted 5-0 to approve with the following staff recommended condition is direct access onto Yellowstone Road will not be allowed. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Bingham. Before we open up for any questions, I believe Mr. Jones is with us. Mr. Jones, I can see you there. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Do you have any comments that you would like to share with us before we open this up for public comment?
Yes, sir. I would just like to state why I'm in Rock Springs and why I would like to open a business. I came here several years ago with Schlumberger, and I'm sure, as you all know, they no longer operate out of Rock Springs. And they asked me to sell my home here and move out of state. And I decided, my wife and I decided we didn't want to do that. We would like to stay here in Rock Springs. So I turned down the opportunity, and they went ahead and released me. And being that I had the facility built, thought that I could go ahead and make use of my capability working on trucks. I have 5 children. 3 of them were born here in Rock Springs, and we'd like to make this our home. In the future, I'm hoping the business will allow me to also create a couple of jobs to employ probably a couple other mechanics. And as to my conversation with Mr. Muir, we talked about me having a shop operating out of my building last Friday. And he said, I believe he may have misunderstood what I was going to be doing. And once I discussed it with him, he said he had no issues with it at all. And I told him that if I ever did cause any concerns, if he'd just please let me know. But he said as of then, he had no problems with it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jones, and thank you for making a wise choice and staying here in Sweetwater County. We want to keep people like you here, and appreciate your vision of possibly looking to put people to work. Thank you for that. With that, commissioners, any questions for either Mr. Bingham or Mr. Jones? With no questions at this time, I will open up this conditional use permit resolution. I'll open it up for public hearing. Floor is now open for public hearing. Tim, please let us know if we get a call.
Good morning, Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the Commission. My name is Jason Shalata. I live to the south of Mr. Jones, and I find no adverse effect on what he's doing. Their family is very respectful. He's a gentleman, and I can validate that Mr. Jones did talk to Mr. Muir, and he explained the scope of what he was doing, and Mr. Muir didn't have any problems with it. And I think all is well in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shalata. Floor is open for public comment. Last call for public comment. Anything, Tim?
Nothing's come in, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. With that, I'll close the public comment period. Commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding this resolution?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Lloyd.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 20-10-0-02 for approval of a conditional use permit for a truck repair business.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Lloyd. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussion, commissioners? No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Jones, and good luck. And thank you, Mr. Shalata, for joining us. Moving on to our next one is a zone map amendment for rural residential. Mr. Bingham, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the property owner is Corner Properties, LC. The applicant is the same. It's tracks 1 through 5 of the Covered Wagon subdivision. and address is to be determined. Current zoning is rural residential. The exact location of this is south of the proposed, well, not proposed, but the actual Love's Truck Stop as it's being built now west of Green River. As far as infrastructure, we know that we have Jamestown Rio Vista water. Sewer is still not in the area. Highway 374 is its direct access comes off of 374. The Sweetwater County Fire Warden and Green River Fire Department would be your responders, and it's Rocky Mountain Power. And so this is a zone map amendment that we're hearing today. It's a 5 1-acre tracts. They're not the actual subdivision lots that are adjacent. I'll show you a map here. Let's just go to that. Okay, so where you see here in pink lavender to the north here, that's where where the Love's Truck Stop is being built currently right now. There are 5 tracts that were part of this covered wagon subdivision. There is a long, convoluted history with the covered wagon subdivision. Commissioner Johnson might be a little aware of this kind of a mess that's going on out here. Mr. Grow is trying to clean this up. We're trying to move forward and see what we can do with this land, and so that's what he's also trying to do. As you can see down to the south of these tracts, it's the platted subdivision that was never constructed. There was a lot of bankruptcies, legal battles that went on with this. It's part of the reason why now we bond infrastructure when subdivisions are being built. But it's been out there since the 80s. It's been a long time. But part of this actually down here on this rural residential here that's where our commission member Angela Wilson, our chairman of the P&Z, she lives down here, actually vacated a portion of it. I won't go into the history of all this subdivision. That's probably for another day, but just so you're aware of kind of what it's adjacent to here and what this is. Mr. Grow does own these 5 tracts that are here, and also the subdivision, everything within that subdivision to the south of it. So to the north, we have commercial. Adjacent to it is BLM, and then you can see down here, that's where the railroad, the main line comes into Green River, comes through here, just to the south. And the Interstate 80, so right off the highway access. So what we're hearing today is whether it's more appropriate for these either to stay and remain rural residential or be commercial. And as you can see, especially with the additional traffic and things like that, that we see it as more fit also for commercial as Mr. Grow has requested. So here is the pictures, the surrounding pictures. You can see the construction work that's going on out there, which we're happy to say that the highway we can see is open now and paint striped. I know that was a inconvenience for a lot of people, so it's great to see that open now. And you can see the construction that's going on at Love's Truck Stop to the north. To the south you see is where this property is and located, and to the west, the construction of the road work they were doing at the time, and to the east. So as far as is this same thing, review criteria for zone map amendments, we have some. Is it consistent with our comprehensive plan? Is it continue in an orderly manner? And we see commercial zoning as appropriate, especially along a busy highway, especially with Love's Truck Stop being located there. The proposed zoning is suitable for existing topography, as you can go back and see. Down to the picture to the south is relatively flat there, so we see it suitable for commercial type of construction. And let's see here, is the proposed zoning can demonstrate adequate public facilities, including roads, drainage, sewer, fire protection. These tracts are located with an existing water district, and they will need to connect onto that when they go to develop the lots. So it's good that we're glad to see water out in that area and development. Does this amendment adversely affect adjacent property owners? We see it as commercial, better fit for the area, especially, again, as seeing it being adjacent to trucks and the amount of traffic going by. Does it conform to all the applicable provisions of this resolution? It does meet the minimum district size, which is 5 acres for commercial, and we definitely meets those regulations. As far as agency and public comments, Emergency Management, they approve of the zoning map amendment. WYDOT had no objections from residential to commercial. They reserve the right to review future detailed development of these properties with respect to traffic impacts, access, utilities, and other encroachments onto 374 highway right-of-way, which that means is, as these depending on what goes on the parcels will depend on where accesses can be built. So they just wanted to hold on to their comments that potentially, well, they will need access permits when the time comes. So they will need to go through that process after the zone map amendment. As far as recommendations, staff recommended approval, and the Planning and Zoning Commission, Mr. Chairman, voted 5-0 to approve the request. And there you have your resolution. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Bingham. At this time, is Mr. Grow out there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Grow, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Do you have anything to add to Mr. Bingham's presentation regarding this change in residential to commercial?
No, I appreciate the support of the Planning Commission. I just like to thank Jamestown Rio Vista Water Company for getting a water line out there so that development could occur, and the help that the County Commission gave them as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning. With that, Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Bingham or Mr. Grove before we open this up for a public hearing?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Johnson.
I'd just like to clarify what Mr. Bingham said. I'm surely aware of the mess that's out there, but I had nothing to do with causing it. What I've always preached to Eric and his group down there is that we need to promote quality development within the county, and I think Eric and his group has done a great job of that. So just for clarification, Eric.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah.
May I also clarify that I wasn't involved in the development, but came in afterwards and bought it for taxes.
Alrighty.
And have been holding it for 35 years.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it appears like it might start moving in the right direction if we can get this through. Any other questions for Mr. Grow or for Mr. Bingham?
Mr. Chairman, yes, I will say Commissioner Johnson had nothing to do with this. This is before.
There's a lot of stories based on that. Thank you. Thank you. All right, at this time, I will open up the floor for public comment regarding this zone map amendment from changing from rural residential to commercial. Floor is now open. Public hearing. Public comment. Floor is open for public comment. Last call for public comment. Anything, Tim?
Mr. Chairman, there's no public comments related to this issue right now.
Thank you. Appreciate it. With that, I will close for public comment. Commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding this resolution?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Johnson.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 20-10-ZO-03 for approval of a zoning map amendment from rural residential RR to commercial C as requested by Mr. Stuart Grow.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Lloyd. Any further discussion, commissioners?
Just want to say I'm grateful that Commissioner Johnson is trying to right his wrongs from the past and straighten this out. So that's excellent. Good work, Wally.
Amen.
With that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now, was that a motion for the resolution or a motion for Jeff's comment?
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, as consistent with the way I've worked with Mr. Smith, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on.
Amen to that one too. I'll do that double amen.
All right.
That's why he's in the basement.
Why
I am
won't,
downstairs. I got moved.
there you go. All right, we'll move on. We have going on to our next one is again, with Mr. Bingham, it's a conditional use permit for an asphalt plant. Mr. Bingham, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just so you know, the applicant, he's in Cheyenne, which is with YDOT. His name's Brad McCollum. But I do feel comfortable moving forward unless there's a lot of concerns. This asphalt plant has been in operation for the last 10 years. It was something that got missed when we were going through all our zone map amendments with YDOT. So if the commissioners are okay with it, Mr. Chairman, I'm okay moving forward with the conditional use.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bingham. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Bingham?
Mr. Chairman, I think it's appropriate to move forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. At this time, Eric, we don't have to have a public hearing.
No. I just wanted to make sure, just be transparent here and make sure that you know that he's not here. So.
All right, thank you. With that, there's no questions for Mr. Bingham. Commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding this request?
Mr. Chairman, I can go ahead and present first. I just wanted to make sure moving forward.
Yeah, we're good.
Otherwise, I would have requested to table it, but we don't need any motions or anything.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the property owner is the Bureau of Land Management. Applicant is YDOT. It's in the southwest quarter of Section 4, Township 19 North, Range 99 West. It's on the Bitter Creek Road. It's a Bitter Creek plant site. It's an asphalt plant, and it's zoned agriculture. And as far as infrastructure, it's along the Bitter Creek Road, Rocky Mountain Power, and through our county fire warden would be the responding agency. They're requesting conditional use permit approval for an asphalt plant in the ag zone. It's currently owned by the BLM, and they have all the proper paperwork for that, all the proper right-of-way agreements. Contractors hired by YDOT will use the site for stockpiling and production of paving asphalt for use on YDOT construction projects, and the site will only be used when there's a construction project in the area along Interstate 80. So this is out in the middle of nowhere, and what you have predominantly it's all agricultural zoning, predominantly oil and gas development, and it's to the north of the interstate is the location of the plant site. And this is views to the north, east, south, and west. Is request consistent with all provisions? The asphalt is in a remote location. And again, it'll assist in paving opportunities for highway projects. We do not see any adverse effects on adjacent properties. Part of the process with asphalt plants, we heard one along Blairtown Road, and then we had one in Reliance not too long ago, is they maintain air quality permits, which is how this basically brought to our attention is they were seeking an air quality permit, and DEQ requires them to come to the county and get a letter, and that's when we found out we needed a conditional use out there. So is it compatible with existing or allowable uses of adjacent properties? Again, it's surrounded by open range and undeveloped in the area that it's in. So, and again, oil and gas development is predominant in that area, so we don't see any adverse effects to adjacent properties. The request can demonstrate adequate provisions, and they do have a DEQ air quality permit. They're just seeking a renewal of that, and demonstrate adequate provisions for maintenance of use. They have the legal access to the parcel and the required lease information from the Bureau of Land Management. Minimize to the greatest degree adverse effects on the natural environment. We do not see any adverse effects on the natural environment since they are maintaining an air quality permit from DEQ. The request will not create undue traffic congestion. In the 10 years that it's been operating, we have not had any issues with traffic congestion, so we don't foresee any. And again, kind of already went over the public health and safety and welfare as far as air quality permits. And it meets all of our provisions of the resolution. Emergency management approves the conditional use. Staff recommends approval. That was the only comment that we received in. And at the October 14th, 2020 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, voted 5-0 to approve the request. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Staff recommends approval, and so does the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you. Now you got me where we need to be. Commissioners, any questions for Eric before we have a public hearing? With no questions at this time, I'll open the floor for a public hearing regarding the conditional use permit for this asphalt plant.
While we're waiting, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to comment that if this was missed earlier, I'm sure it's Commissioner Johnson's fault somehow.
Fair comment. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it probably is.
Thank you, gentlemen. Floor is still open for public comment. Anything come in, Tim? Didn't think there would be. That's okay. We'll give it a second or two. Final call for this comment for this public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. Commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding the conditional use permit for the asphalt plant?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Johnson.
just in the rare possibility that was my fault, I'd be happy to make the resolution, a proposal to adopt resolution 20-10-ZO-04 for approval of a conditional use permit for an asphalt plant.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll help Commissioner Johnson and second that as he writes his wrong.
We've got a second by Commissioner Smith. Any further discussion, commissioners? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Eric. I believe we have one more, and it's with Venture Construction regarding a variance for light pole height. The floor is yours, Mr. Bingham. Can't hear you, bud. You're muted, Eric.
There we go.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have to find the mute button when you're sharing screen. It's in a different location. Okay. Okay. All right, Mr. Chairman. So this is the last one we're hearing today. This is a variance hearing. The property owner is Rose Rock Holding, LLC. Charles Shade is the applicant, who is one of the contractors out there on site. It's the northwest corridor of Section 7, Township 18 North, Range 107 West. This is the Love's Truck Stop for maximum height, and I'll explain a little as to how we got here today. Hopefully this is the last variance we have, but I do appreciate that they're coming in and saying, okay, hey, we've got a problem out here, and we have some issues, and so we'll kind of go over what happened. The address is 8901 Highway 374 in Green River. It's southeast of Covered Wagon, off-ramp. We all know the location. It's zone commercial, has all the infrastructure there. So what happened is when we have a maximum height requirement on light poles of 30 feet. So they ordered 30-foot high lamp fixtures or light poles. What they did not take into account was the 4-foot foundation. So that makes these 34 feet. So we have a 30-foot high requirement on lighting, but a 35-foot high requirement maximum on structures. So it will meet that requirement, but it will not meet that 30-foot height requirement. One thing special in our lighting regulations is it spells out that we do allow variances based on does it meet their criteria? The biggest issue when you have lighting is to make sure that we're not spilling over light pollution onto adjacent properties. We know that when we heard the Love's Truck Stop, that was a concern. So that's why we requested a lighting plan, which I'll go over. So here's a zoning map. As we know, we just heard across the street here, a rural residential, which is now commercial, and then the commercial zoning of the parcel. You got the golf course and that new subdivision that's just up the road north of the interstate. And then this is all BLM to the west of the property. And then to the west of the Love's Truck Stop is commercially zoned properties. and it's a commercial subdivision in there that's all developed. So here is the lighting plan that was submitted on the 9th of October before our, so we made them submit a new lighting plan because as you bring light fixtures up, our concern was, does it meet the lighting regulations? And what you see in there is numbers, and they're foot candles. And what you want to be looking for in there is to make sure it does not reach over 1 foot candle, 1.0. In the blue here, is all 0.0. So meaning it does not spill over light pollution. The location of the lighting is not going on the edges of the property, so that's why it remains a low foot candle number around the property. What you kind of see in brown here, it hits 0.1, 0.2, so it still meets that 1.0 foot candle requirement. One thing, and might as well go over right now. Yesterday, the applicant came in. So when we originally went over this lighting plan with the Planning and Zoning Commission, it was 29 light fixtures that went around the property. What we received yesterday was a lighting plan that had 42 fixtures. And that is what they would like to have on the property. They submitted a new lighting plan yesterday with the 42 lights. And with the 42 lights, we are still maintaining the lighting regulations. But to be transparent here, I want to make sure the Board of County Commissioners understands that at the Planning and Zoning, we heard 29, and we did not hear 42. But in the application, it did not state how many lighting poles that were going to be on the property. So I don't see the need for them to resubmit a new conditional use application since it didn't state how many lighting poles. But when we get to the resolution, we may have to make some changes there. As far as pictures surrounding the property, there's the construction of the north, south, east, and west, and then the posting. So we have 3 criteria for variances. Is there something that's sought and do not generally apply to land and buildings in the neighborhood and have not resulted from any act of the applicant subsequent to the adoption of the zoning resolution? So when the applicant did order the light poles, they had the intention of meeting the regulations, but did not take into consideration the concrete bases of 4 foot. So they did discuss potentially cutting the light poles down, but then the concern of the structural integrity of those poles might be compromised if cut down, so that's why they sought the variance. As far as number 2, is it deprive the reasonable use of the land or building, and is it the minimum adjustment necessary? And the adjustment as granted is the minimum adjustment that will accomplish this purpose. They are asking for the minimum. They're not trying to raise them any higher, but those foundations have to be a certain height. As far as granting will be detrimental to the public, that's why we made them submit a new lighting plan to make sure that we were not spilling over lighting, since that was a concern. Another concern, obviously, from YDOT was that they do not interfere with traffic. One thing I do also want to point out that you don't see in this lighting plan is full cutoff fixtures. And what that means is the light will not come up above 45 degrees over the lighting fixture. So they went above and beyond and put full cutoff fixtures, which is also aiding in that those foot candles not spreading out beyond the property. As far as emergency management, they approved of the request. YDOT ensure that the elevation of these lights do not obscure or interfere with the other lighting or traffic control devices, or obscure or interfere with motorists' view in the area of adjacent roadways. That's why, Mr. Chairman, we asked them to submit a new lighting plan, and they are also full cutoff fixtures so that they don't interfere with traffic. As far as staff does support the variance as long as the applicant adheres to their lighting plan. Now, when we heard this at the Planning and Zoning Commission, we had a condition on here that the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 5-0 to approve the request. It stated that the applicant is required to adhere to the Love's Truck Stop lighting plan that was submitted on October 9th, 2020. I would just ask if we do approve that today, that'll need to be changed to October 20th. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Bingham. Is Mr. Shade out there? I believe I see a screen, but you're muted, Mr. Shade.
How's that?
Very good. Now we can hear you. Do you have any anything to add to Mr. Bingham's?
No, just the confusion of the photometrics from the original drawings. The photometrics they sent to you did not match the photometrics that were on the electrical print or the architectural, and which is what we build by. So at the time, we had all 42 foundations on site. With that, when we got when I came to the amendment, they'd sent the original with the 29, and I stated, because they wanted to start tearing them out. That's $17,000 a light pole to tear them out. And that would be, 13 light poles. That's a lot of money. So I suggested that they please send a photometrics with the correct light pole bases to make sure that we fall underneath of the lighting parameters. And then I met with Jim Zimmerman yesterday over because I didn't want anybody to get blindsided by this. So that's about the only thing I have.
Thank you, Mr. Shade. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Bingham or Mr. Shade?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Johnson.
just so I understand completely, the resolution we have in front of us has a condition that says October 9th. So what you're suggesting, Eric, is that date just needs to be changed to October 20th, and it covers the problem both ways, the height and the number of fixtures.
Mr. Chairman, I messed up there because they did submit it yesterday. So I actually just need to add a 1 on there. So October 19th, as long as we put that on there because it was submitted yesterday, I'm good with it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Other commissioners, any questions for either Mr. Shade or Mr. Bingham?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Smith.
with that increased height, is there any concerns of the integrity? Are these built to withstand the wind at that height, or any concerns there as far as structurally with adding a little extra height to these?
Is that a question to me, sir?
Yeah, Mr. Shade, go ahead. You can answer that.
To my understanding, it's not. We just got the off-site light pole bases. They're 29 foot and they're considerably smaller in base size compared to ours. So considering the fact that the bases on the 34-foot poles are 4 foot in diameter and 10 feet deep in the ground and 4 foot above back of curb, the foundation is more than acceptable for the wind loads.
Thank you, Mr. Shade.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shade. Eric, do you agree?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. So just the comfort of the commissioners, when these are publicly attended buildings, they are actually reviewed by the state of Wyoming. So we have not adopted the building code in the county, but when it comes to these sites, they actually have to go through the state, and they do have everything has to meet IBC and has to be accessible, handicap accessible also. So they submitted architectural engineer stamp drawings on the lighting fixtures and all of the buildings that are out there, so to assure the safety of the public. So everything out there is meeting both architectural and engineering standards in Wyoming. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate that. Any other questions, commissioners, for either Mr. Shade or Eric before we open this up for public hearing? No further questions. At this time, I'll open this up for public hearing regarding the variance on the light pole height for the Love's truck stop. Any comment, public hearing for the floor is open. Anything coming in, Tim?
No, Mr. Chairman, nothing at this time.
Thank you. Last call for public comment for this public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. Commissioners, what's your pleasure with this resolution granted? Keep in mind the has a condition or amendment on it for October 19th instead of what we read.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Smith.
it sounds like Commissioner Johnson had no part of the mishandling of this, the mistake. So I will happily make a recommendation that we approve 20-10-ZO-05 for approval of a variance for light poles to exceed 30 feet in height, as requested by Charles Shade of Venture Construction, with the amendment that the applicant is required to adhere to the Love's Truck Stop lighting plan that was submitted on October 19th, 2020.
Thank you for that. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Johnson.
I hesitate, but I will second that motion.
We have a second by Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussions? With that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Shade, and thank you, Eric. And gentlemen, have a good day as we move forward. With that, commissioners, I would like to go into county resident concerns, and then following that, we'll take a quick break. So at this time, we'll open up the floor for this part of our agenda, which is county resident concerns. And Tim, we'll count on you to guide us there.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I do have two comments that came in through our public comments email that I'd like to present.
Very good. Go ahead.
We'll start with Mr. Teddy Maines from Green River. This is in regard to the Green River Transfer Station and the Rock Springs landfill. It says, "Dear Commissioners, I'm writing this letter in regards to your several-year contract with Wyoming Waste Services. I'm asking that you please consider extending the District 1 boundaries to include the city of Green River and Jamestown for the reasons of changing our status from non-resident to resident at the landfill at 50 County Road 64. All Green River and Jamestown residents are paying customers for trash pickup service. We have no alternatives if our trash is rejected, but to go to Rock Springs and pay a minimum of $20 per load. We have an 1,800-pound allowance at the transfer station that is creating an unnecessary burden on the scale house that has to police our waste limits and reject us if we've reached the limit. We are the county seat and we are losing basic services in our city one by one. I've heard project plans for a clean and beautiful city, but shouldn't that start with a place to deposit our trash? I'm very grateful for the depository at the corrals for all the wood waste after the storm, but without that generosity, what would we have done? If you have any better solutions, that would be great. Thank you for your consideration, Teddy Maines."
Thank you, Tim.
All right. The second comment is from Craig Rude regarding support for the Southwest Wyoming Regional Airport Terminal modernization. It states, "Commissioners, this is a letter of support for the modernization of the airport terminal. As Jenner moves forward with our expansion and greenfield projects, it will be critical that we have a modern functional airport. As all of the Trona industry has publicly announced growth, there will be a large influx of people using the airport, especially during the construction period. As we begin to hire permanent employees, the airport will be critical for interviewing potential employees. It will also be the first impression they have of Sweetwater County and their ability to travel during their personal time. Also, being a member of the team for the Baxter Road projects, a modern airport will be critical to attracting industry to Southwest Wyoming. I realize we are headed for tough financial times in the state, but this project is crucial to open up Sweetwater County. I would ask that you support this project. Thank you, Craig Rude, Director of Public Relations and Government Affairs from Jenner."
Thank you, Tim. Again, this part is county resident concerns or county resident comments. Floor is open. Anything else come in, Tim?
That's everything, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Give it another minute or two, just. Last call for county resident concerns, county resident comments. I will close this portion of our agenda, which is county resident concerns. Commissioners, will take a break and then we'll be back here at, let's say 9:40. It's 9:30 right now, 9:40, and we'll pick up with our commissioner comments and reports. Thank you.
Jeff will be with us shortly. Sally just booted him out.
Did you get a donut?
No, Sally wouldn't let him have a donut.
Well, doggone it, there's an apple fritter there for him. See what you're missing out on, Lauren?
I definitely don't need any apple fritters or donuts.
I'm on the COVID diet plan.
Sally said we can start anytime now.
All righty. I'm waiting for Tim to get back. Can't go without Tim. Sally. Miss Lane, is Mr. Knight in there?
He is not.
Thank you. I meant Clerk Lane.
I believe there's some trouble with Commissioner Smith's computer.
It's all right, we'll wait. Thank you.
Yeah, I understand there's a short circuit between the keyboard and the seat.
I think it's bad karma for Jeff picking on Wally so much today. We are a lively group today, though.
Got to make up for the fact we're not all in the same room. Oh, there's Jeff. Thanks, Tim. Okay. At this time, I'll call this meeting back to order. And with that, we'll start out with Commissioner comments and reports. Commissioner Lloyd, you're up. Good
All right, well,
morning.
thank you, gentlemen. And Lauren, I appreciate everyone being here today. And a couple liaison work has continued. I met with the library board last night. Things continue to move forward. Jason and his crew continue to keep the library open, but they also continue finding ways to do more community outreach to continue some of their mission and their programs. So good work with Jason and his group. STAR met last Monday. I wasn't able to attend, but I was able to meet with Mary, and really there was no concerns or no huge issues. They are continuing to operate, not limiting capacity, and moving forward with the route system at this point. And that seems to be going well with no major concerns. I did not have a Fair Board Events Complex meeting, but I did, that's next week. I did go out and meet with Larry and Candy individually, and I know that they've reached out, and I may be meeting with some of the other commissioners also, but they just wanted to go over where things were at. One of the things I wanted to commend them for this summer was the horse racing, and the reason I want to commend them for the horse racing is, and I wasn't able to get with Rob, but I do know we do see an influx of money to the county and the cities regarding the horse racing and our percentages of that. By law, that can only, the entities that house those historical horse racing machines and simulcast betting can only do that by statute if they, if that owner of that establishment hosts 14 live horse racing days. And without that, those owners can't have those machines or the simulcast betting, and thus reduces some of our tax money. This year was kind of an interesting year because we partnered with Eugene Joyce, who's worked with us in the past. And instead of splitting the horse races between typically us and Gillette, and sometimes Casper, all the 14 horse race days were here. In fact, all those horse race days were without an audience. And that tells you how much money those owners of those places make, because they're willing to run 14 days of horse races without an audience or a live betting group, because they know how much money they make on the side of it. But I do want to make a comment that we are not able to gain that tax money if there isn't that horse racing available. So the events complex actually hosting that horse racing helps bring some income into the community, and also allows that parimutuel and historic horse racing to happen in this community. And I think that's an important thing to do. And the events complex has got into an agreement with Eugene to be the primary track for that. And Eugene and them are going to be looking at how they can put some upgrades into the track and the events complex to help that relationship move forward. So want to share that. Outside of that, they continue to move on, prepping for some events. They do have some recommitments from some of the events that that did not occur this year because of COVID. Some of the travel shows and such like that will be on the schedule next year. So, and they're already looking forward to the fair and moving forward with the fair next year, and making plans on that. Want to thank Eric this morning. Great presentations. We had a lot of planning and zoning stuff, but Eric and his group always does such a nice job in preparing for that. So when we come to these meetings, we have a lot of great information to make decisions, and I want to thank Eric for that. Also, the only person probably busier on our commission agenda than Eric will be Christina, and I want to commend Christina before we get to it for the work she's done on the grants with the CARES Act. And really, if you want to joke, probably 85% of our agenda was Eric and Christina, and so and the majority being Christina. So I do think what she's done in reaching out to component agencies, other agencies, in-house departments, and looking at where CARES Act money could be utilized has been phenomenal, and it is a boon for the county. And I think that needs to be commended to Christina. So I've also met with multiple other department heads, local officials, community partners, et cetera. A couple conversations with Devin Brubaker, who will be presenting today. And I want to thank Devin for taking the time and meeting with me and reaching out. Only other couple quick things. Strategic plan. I have reached out to a couple commissioners to go through the notes, and as soon as I get those notes back, I will get that out. But I do think it's important that we'll get that out pretty soon, and we will meet again on the second meeting of November, and so I will get that information out as soon as possible. lastly, just as I think, just as we talked a little bit about last week, is financials, and I'm really excited that we're looking at being a little proactive and moving forward and being more proactive in that process this year, because what we are looking at is a daunting process. So that's what I have. Is there any questions?
Commissioners, any questions for Commissioner Lloyd? Thank you, Commissioner Lloyd. Appreciate your report. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll start with the Public Works Department report for October 20th. Buildings, the county courthouse roofing project is approximately 95% complete and is progressing on schedule. The only thing that may hold the completion up this week is the scheduled removal and reset of the cooling tower. The COVID technology upgrade to the district's courts is completed. They still need to iron out some small glitches, but all is going well. Engineering, fiscal year 2020 crack ceiling project has started its advertisement period, and we have sent out bid packages to 3 companies. Road and Bridge, we finished hauling approximately 7,500 tons of rotomill tailings to County Road 70, Browns Park Road. B. Jackson started reclaiming its stretch of the roadway Monday and will be finished by this Thursday. He doesn't have any pictures to share for this meeting, but he normally has. So anyway, good report, Gene, appreciate it. Next, there's something happened that I just would like my co-commissioners and the public, if they miss this, that I think is extremely important. And I don't know whether you can see this, but it's the Casper Star paper for Sunday, October 11th, 2020. And what the headline is commission, they're talking about the Public Service Commission. They have found that Pacific Corp power plant is deficient. And what they say is the group says utility didn't take economic effects into account. And why that's important to us is we are the ones that really put together the report that a year ago that earmarked what the economic ramifications of shutting down the power plant, the Bridger power plant, was going to have on Sweetwater County. What they say here is the Public Service Commission case against Pacific Corp, the state's largest utility, began nearly a year ago. And as you know, they came to Sweetwater County, to Rock Springs, and we presented our report that we had prepared roughly a year ago, which earmarked the impact of what the economy is going to suffer if that power plant goes down. Roughly 1,300 high-paying jobs, etc. And here's a comment. According to remarks provided by Chairwoman Kara Fornstrom, Pacific Corp's plan failed to consider the devastating local and state economic consequences of retiring some of its coal fleet early. Among several other directives, Forstrom called on the utility to include an economic impact assessment in future plans. That's basically what we provided in documentation to the Public Service Commission. And that is the reason that Lincoln County and Kent Conley from Lincoln County and myself went to Cheyenne to testify. And that testimony, we had presented those documents to the Public Service Commission, and apparently they took that to heart, and that ruling came out as a result of that. I think that's extremely important, and I hope that this discussion continues, and hopefully at some point Pacific Corp would reverse their plans as to what they're going to do in Sweetwater County. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. A question, please. That 7,500 tons of rotomill, that was donated by the state through their roads when they redid, right? That didn't cost the county a penny.
That does not cost the county anything, and we have always been very appreciative of receiving that, and it's just great for putting on our county roads. And Gene's done a great job of getting that and seeing that it gets hauled, and that's what he's done there. And it is 7,500 tons.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I think that's very important because that's a huge, huge savings to the county, but it also speaks well of the relationships and partnerships that the county has with the state of Wyoming, the WYDOT in this area. So thank you for your report. Next up is myself. Oh, I'm sorry. Any other questions for Commissioner Johnson? Commissioners? Oh, with that, we'll move on. I'll be up next. First thing I have is I sent an email, I believe, out yesterday. So, and then this morning, for those that are here, I made out a hard copy. WCCA has requested a county publication expense information for fiscal year 20. And the reason for this is during the interim meetings coming up, the committees, one of them is taking up the looking at the statute for publications for the counties and cities, local entities, and they want to know how much money is being spent for those publications. So I believe each of you have a hard copy before you, except Aaron, yours might have been emailed to you yesterday and that, but I'd like you to take a look at it. This is what I will ask Sally to forward to WCCA. As you can see, for Sweetwater County, the first question is, how much did your county spend on newspaper publications, legal notices, minutes in fiscal year 20? And you can see that is $73,122.01. Next column, the question is, how much did your county spend in fiscal year 20, specifically on publishing salary data? And that's $2,866.86. And in question 3, how much did your county spend in fiscal year 20, specifically on publishing meeting minutes? And for Sweetwater County, it was $31,044.22. So this sheet will be sent into WCCA so that our executive director, Jeremiah Riemann, will have it so he can testify on behalf of the counties with regard to what expenses that are being spent by counties for county publication expenses. So any questions, commissioners, with that? Okay, at the conclusion of today's meeting, I'll have Sally forward that to Jeremiah Ryman and his staff. The other thing is I did get a phone message from Emma Waldner from the Red Desert Clinic, which is in Wamsutter. They have invited any commissioner who would like to come to their meetings. Their meetings are on Wednesdays, third Wednesday, I'm sorry. So tomorrow's the third Wednesday. Generally, they're at 6 o'clock. Tomorrow's meeting's at 5:30 in Wamsutter. I'm going to presume it's at the Red Desert Clinic, but anyhow, I do have a number if anybody wishes to get it from me to call Emma to get more information. If they'd like to attend one of their Red Desert Clinic meetings, of course, keep in mind the Red Desert Clinic is a special district that was established a few years ago, and their board, I believe, is elected and not appointed. Am I correct, Commissioner Johnson?
I don't really recall how that was done. I believe they're elected locally there.
Yeah, I think they're elected. So anyhow, but with that, tomorrow is the Gateway South Industrial Siting meeting in Rawlins. Eric and John will be there, and I'll be there, and so will other attendees with regard to that industrial siting. Of that $6+ million, there's consideration of about 1.5 for Sweetwater County, primarily the Wamsutter area, and so that hearing will take place tomorrow in Rawlins. And the reason I bring that up is because I will call the clinic and talk with Emma at the Red Desert and let her know that if the industrial siting meeting, our portion gets over with in time, I will stop in Wamsutter on my way home tomorrow for their meeting and that. So just to let the rest of you know that that's the plan. Outside of that, fire, of course, we're really watching that fire in Colorado, which is the largest fire in Colorado's history. It's well over 200,000 acres. Earlier, when the fire started, we did work collaboratively with the city of Rock Springs, who had a wildfire truck, and we sent one of our county firefighters with a group to fight at that fire. They did return. Everybody was safe. This week, there was another call for more resources, and therefore the Rock Springs City put together again a crew for their truck to go over there. They were one short, so Fire Warden Bornasian did assign one of our willing voluntary firefighters to go along, so they're over on that fire, and we hope they stay safe. As we know, over the Friday, I believe, Thursday, Friday, fire broke out up north. I believe, I want to say Boulder, Bondurant area, but anyhow, there were structures lost. There was a call for resources, but with everything that was going on here in the county, with the weather and everything, our fire warden decided it would be in our best interest that we stand full here in the county. And if there's any further requests for resources here in the near future, he's working to make sure that there's plenty of backup before we commit any resources to help up there. So it is high fire danger. It is the wind, of course, what we've experienced, and the dryness through the day just seems to keep igniting things. Also, on the last comment I'll make, and I'll just do this regarding to our public comment period with the Sweetwater County Waste District. I would like to just have people realize that that waste district is a special district, and it has boundaries. And right now, those boundaries, for the most part, are only around Rock Springs. That special district has their own board who governs that district. And I know there's a request from many of our Green River citizens for us as a county, as commissioners, to do something. But I want to remind them that outside of appointing board members, we do not have any ruling or oversight for that waste district. I would encourage them in Green River, if there's a desire to join that district, they need to work specifically through their city leadership and work with that board, that district board in Rock Springs, which is the Waste District Board. I do believe it meets on, I want to say, the second Monday of each month at about 5:30. And I can't tell you the exact location, but I do know that the Green River City Administration Office, they have their accountant, Mr. Meeks, Chris Meeks, who serves on that board. So I'm sure he can give them the details. But I encourage the citizens of Green River that if there's a true desire, it needs to work through that special district board there at the Waste District in Rock Springs. So that's what I'll share with you. Don't hesitate to follow up. I'm willing to visit with anybody and let them know exactly who to get a hold of. With that, commissioners, that concludes my reports. If there's any questions or anybody would like to add on, they're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Johnson.
Just a clarification on fire. I heard you say Bondurant and or Boulder. Do you know where that fire is?
No, I want to, Commissioner Johnson, while Commissioner Smith is giving his report, let me check my text and then I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with no further questions, Commissioner Smith, I believe you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Liaison work's coming along quite nicely. Hospital board meeting the day after our last Board of County Commissioner meeting. They are working hard on getting the projects completed that they've been awarded SLIB grant money for. Of course, those have to be finished by the end of December. And so working hard to make sure that money gets spent. When you get money like that, you want to make sure it goes to good use. And Irene did want to point out great thank you to Christina Marshall, our grants guru, for reaching out to Tiffany at the hospital. And also, I know Devin up at the airport as well was very grateful to see if they had any expenses that hadn't been covered regarding COVID that they could submit for a grant through the county as well. So thanks to Christina for that. Let's see. Audit was good as well at the hospital, and they are waiting for a joint commission survey. Should be coming their way soon. They are going to go ahead with the Halloween cruise through and their haunted garden. It's going to be Friday, October 30th at 4. And that will be all social distanced and masked. And so some candy will be available and fun will be had for everybody there. So do give that a try on Friday the 30th. They also did their Paint the Town Pink event a couple weeks ago. It was virtual, went very well, and thanks to Tasha Harris for that, and also Kelly Sugihara, who really contributed to making that a great event. And then finally from the hospital, COVID numbers are going up, as we know. So please keep on wearing those face masks, social distancing, keep washing their hands. And they're closing in on 10,000 COVID tests completed and have had 364 positive tests. So 3.9% is the positivity rate right now. Although the last 14 days, it's jumped up to 4.7%. So let's do our part and make sure we can try to get over this together. And then, as I mentioned, I think last update, Dr. Lex Augustine started as an OBGYN, and Dr. Pawar is a neurologist, will be joining November 9th. So that's the hospital. The airport board, I see Devin will be on with us a little bit later, if I remember correctly. And board meeting last week, the budget is a little bit better than projected for July and August. September and October look to be on par. And this, of course, is the post-COVID budget that started mid-year here in 2020. So, no great expectations, but they are doing better than those expectations overall. And there's a lot of focus on the terminal project and the funding that's needed for that, and the design work and everything that's going around. So that's great. YDOT grant was approved for $500,000. We'll need a match from us, the local match as well. So we'll be discussing that as well. That seat-based construction is not quite complete. They're hoping to have it finished this week. So hopefully we get that taken care of. Let's see. Yes, Devin did talk with Christina for about $400,000 in CARES Act money. And then passenger-wise, down about 61.9%, 62% from September of last year. So it's a little bit worse than they were the month before, but all in all, doing better than nationally. So that's a good thing as well. Also done some work with the ambulance and the abandoned vehicles projects that I'm working on, and happy to update to all of you with on that later. So that is my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Questions for Commissioner Smith? Okay, Commissioner Shanefield, before we go, I've got the answer for Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Johnson, I received this on Saturday, and it was from our fire warden, and he said there's a new fire in Boulder burning down homes, and they're trying to get 50 more engines ordered. It's already 7,000 acres. That was as of Saturday. So that's where that fire is and that type of thing. So just exactly where in Boulder, can't tell you, but there does sound like there's been some structure taken as a result. Any other questions?
I hear that, but that's a little hard to believe, that many structures, but.
Yeah, and that came from him through the Casper dispatch. So that's what we have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then I'll have one more thing about the Conservation District after Commissioner Shanefield's comments, okay? Go ahead, Commissioner, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So first and foremost, grants. Christina, as everyone can see from the agenda today, Christina has been incredibly busy with the CARES Act grant applications, as well as finishing up on some grant portions of the audit. Next, she's going to be focusing her time on the grant agreements, the sub-receipt agreements, and submitting reimbursements by the deadline of December 15th. She also is working on some other grants, but they're not as time sensitive as this CARES Act funding. So I want to echo what Commissioner Lloyd said and just tell Christina she's doing a great job. She's been very, very busy, and we look forward to hearing from her the rest of our meeting on all of the work that she's been doing. SCDC, Kayla and Eric have been very busy. Kayla and Eric have continued to meet with the two potential current business leads, Project Tropical, which is a small food manufacturing company, and then a data mining business, which is looking at Bitcoin and blockchain. So that's exciting and something new for our community. SCDC, we met on October 15th with members of our advisory board, the Trona industry, Dr. Dale from the college, University of Wyoming presidents, and Wyoming Business Council to discuss the latest updates on the Sweetwater County Industrial Development Project. The group discussed the idea of potentially developing the Trona Institute, which would help for future workforce needs for the industry as well as our future businesses that could potentially be recruited into the Middle Baxter Road. So it would be a win-win for our industry currently here, as well as our economic development and diversification. Our group has also given some more in-depth information on the water line and utilities for the site from Thomas P. Miller and Associates. And they're going to have their final report to us in November. So that will, they're going to do a presentation to us as soon as they get that report and get all the information. So that should be coming up next month. Kayla has continued to be on the radio. The next radio update on 93.5 is going to be on the 29th at 8 a.m. with Eric and Kayla. So they're going to be giving the update on the economic or the industrial development project. And Kayla's really working on expanding these visits with the radio network and WYO radio to try to increase information sharing and communication around what we're doing. November 19th from 2:30 to 4:30, SEDC is going to host a blockchain and data mining 101 seminar. So it's going to be open to any and all Sweetwater County residents and businesses, and it'll be a Zoom meeting with seminar information is going to be released later this week from Kayla. Congratulations to Kayla. She was reelected to the Wyoming Economic Development Association Board of Directors. She has been filling an unexpired term since May of 2019, and she's going to serve a 3-year term on the board with this reelection. So congratulations. I think it's really important that we continue to remain active at the state level so that we can ensure that Sweetwater County is right where it needs to be. I'm also on the Southwest Wyoming Manufacturing Partnership Leadership Team, and this group is working on how to improve economic development in our community as well as supporting our industry currently. And they're going to have Kayla and Eric at our next meeting in a couple of weeks so that we can work together and not reinvent the wheel, but ensure that we're all on the same page. And I think it's going to be a great meeting. So the museum actually met last week. I was unable to make their meeting due to that SEDC Industrial Development Project meeting. I do have plans to meet with Dave later this week to get an update. So I'll have more on that at our next meeting. We had a legislative broadband task force meeting yesterday to review potential legislation and amendments to the current legislation for the upcoming session, whenever that session ends up being. And then last but not least, last meeting, we discussed that October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Last Saturday, there was a 5K that was put together by the family of a recent domestic violence homicide victim, Whitney Sewell. And it was a huge community event. There was great turnout and everything was very well put together. I was there to offer support, as well as the YWCA was there to help with it. The YWCA's Silent Witness program has their annual candlelight vigil, and that's actually tonight. This year they've transitioned it from being an in-person candlelight vigil to a luminary drive-by event. So they're going to be having it in Bunning Park tonight from 5:30 to 6:30. Urge everyone to drive by and see those silhouettes and honor victims of domestic violence from our community. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Saintfield. Commissioners, any questions for Commissioner Saintfield? Thank you. Commissioner Johnson, I just got an update thanks to our great Sheriff Grossnickel reaching out to Sublette County. And he talked with their sheriff and they have no reported fires in the Boulder area. So apparently the report coming out of Casper to our warden on Saturday was possibly not accurate. So that's
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Smith.
I would say that the fire that broke out on Sunday that destroyed structures would have been in Boulder, Colorado, the Cal fire outside of.
And he didn't say Colorado, but he did say Boulder. So that might be the clarification. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I didn't think that could be possible. That many structures up there in Boulder, Wyoming. but I think the explanation Boulder, Colorado probably fits. It's bad
Right.
anyway, so.
Yeah, I agree with you, and thank you for that, because I looked at it and it does not say Boulder, Colorado, it just says Boulder. So I'm loyal to Wyoming, so I always worry about Wyoming. Anyhow, thank you with that. Appreciate that. So no fires up in Sublette County at this point, so everybody breathe deep. But remember, the fall isn't over yet. The one other thing that I forgot to mention that I looked over is on Thursday, I believe it's November, let me look quick like. Thursday, November 5th, Sweetwater Conservation District will have a workshop prior to their meeting. That workshop will be going over the overlays that they've been working on, primarily the roads and those types of things, which is the GIS maps that they've been working on with their agents. And they've extended an invitation out to any commissioner that would like to attend, as well as extended invitation to Eric Bingham, Planning and Zoning Department, Mr. Legursky, as well as our GIS person in Planning and Zoning, and that. So I just wanted to let everybody know that prior to that meeting, there is that invitation. The work that's been done there, I think Commissioner Johnson, you're very much aware of the layers that are going on there, and that has been, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it is a project through the Conservation District, which still would resolve that it is county work as well. So yeah, that's going to be a presentation, as well as, I believe, for people to take a look at it. So with that, that's all I have. Any other commissioner have anything to add?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I have been involved in that transportation plan as the relative to the county commission, and those overlays were through the conservation district, financed by the county through our budgeting process. And I have been an advocate that those overlays should rest in the courthouse here, not with the conservation district. And obviously, as a lame duck, I'm not going to have much to say about that anymore. But I still feel strongly that those are documents that we've paid for and should be housed in Gene's department down there, and or Eric's.
Thank you. We'll continue that dialogue on your behalf and see if we can make sure they're located there. Any other comments, commissioners? With that, we'll move on to our action items and presentation items for today. And of course, tab C was removed, and we'll move right into tab D. And with that, we have Ms. Marshall here with Ms. Chatterbox regarding the approval of resolution for submission of a COVID relief grant application for Sweetwater County Attorney's Office. So, Christina, floor is yours.
Well, good morning,
morning,
commissioners. And I would like to take a quick moment just to give an overview, since I'll be covering the next 8 items, and I would prefer not repeating myself. So the theme is coronavirus, or the novel coronavirus. And I have to say that it is with great pride that I see these collaborations with our community partners, our stakeholders, public health for these applications. Just to remind you, Sweetwater County has tested actually 13,822 people for coronavirus. This is something that's not ending soon. And so these applications are all in response to it. Currently, we have a rate of lab confirmed cases of 947 per 100,000 people. The thing with the coronavirus grant funding is, unfortunately, it has to be expended and invoiced by December 15th. There is some confusion that we have until December 30th, and that is because it's actually listed in our contract that way when we get approved the funding. However, State Loan and Investment Board has actually approved emergency rules that state they have to be submitted by December 15th. They are trying to see what unexpended funding they have so that they can redistribute that. So that is for all these projects. Another important point I'd like to make is through these applications, you can see that coronavirus is even though it's a public health emergency and we have medical and public health projects, it is impacting everybody in different ways. And I think you can see that through the types of projects, there's many second-hand effects. So we're trying to carry out business as safely as we can, but you would have thought it's only hospitals applying for this money. And as you can see through Sweetwater County's applications, it is not. Many of the themes are about virtual environments, social distancing, in addition to healthcare. Another item, we are following the guidance from the U.S. Department of Treasury. One of the challenges in preparing these applications is that the State Loan and Investment Board approved additional rules. And so the state of Wyoming, through the Attorney General's office, has kind of a slightly modified interpretation. So it's actually more restrictive of what we're applying for. We cannot use this funding for revenue replacement. And as far as the applications are concerned, we were on the front end. We had submitted 2 applications for a courthouse project and also sponsored one for Southwest Counseling. Since that time, the state has allocated money to counties, towns, cities, and healthcare providers so that entities did not feel super stressed out on the first come, first served basis. Sweetwater County was allocated $6 million approximately. With today's group of applications, in addition to the ones already awarded, we will be submitting approximately $2 million worth of applications. And then going forward, as Commissioner Shanefield indicated, it's nice to submit applications, but it's also nice to collect the funding for the projects, very important detail. So we will be focusing on making that. And then finally, before I move forward with the actual applications, it is not too early to start thinking about additional projects. I'm already in my mind every day thinking about, well, we could probably apply for this, this, and this. It's just a question of getting it in. There's probably going to be another round of funding. So any entities, any people who want to discuss it, I would be happy to do that, spread the news. So, and with that, Mr. Chairman and Clerk Lane, I would like to remind you to sign everything in blue, our favorite color, with grants for grant resolutions and contracts. So we have 8 applications either to be submitted for county departments and or to sponsor outside entities. I will be taking them one at a time. For this first one is for the Sweetwater County Attorney's Office. The Amanda Chetterbach could not be with us because of the trial going on, but John DeLeon is also here in case there are some questions. So all these projects have the same, it's the same pot of money, coronavirus relief grant. The Attorney's Office is actually applying for equipment and technology. As I mentioned, everything is about being virtual right now. So they're looking to purchase laptops and VPN licenses. This is also an impact from that new courtroom technology up in the district courtroom that was discussed by Jean and the judges at the last meeting. I had listed that they're looking to replace 11 laptops. This money cannot replace money or projects that were already budgeted. So the attorney's office had budgeted for 2 laptops, but in talking with Amanda, they could actually use 2 extra ones for their legal assistance. And then of course, the VPN connections are very important to discuss with the judges and so forth. And with that, Mr. De Leon, do you have anything to add?
I think it is covered. If there are any questions, I'd certainly be glad to answer.
Thank you, Christina. Mr. De Leon. Commissioners, any questions regarding this resolution? Christina, I have one.
Mhm.
When you talk about this was the project that Mr. Legursky talked about at our last meeting, he had made the comment that there may be some things that may not be covered, like electrical, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
Do we know if we're going to possibly be able to get that stuff under, hopefully through a COVID application at some other time?
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I'm very pleased to confirm that our Public Works Director forwarded me that invoice for electrical, and it's actually with the next application on your agenda.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, Commissioners, any other questions? Commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding Resolution 20-10GR-01 and authorizing the chairman to sign?
I move that we approve that. Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Shanefield.
So moved and authorize the chairman to sign.
You've got a motion to approve and authorize the chairman to sign. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lloyd. Any further discussion, Commissioners? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, Ms. Marshall, you're up again. And
Okay,
very good. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this second project is for the Clerk of District Court, who I believe has joined us by phone. So this project is also to assist them with virtual environment, social distancing, and also to cover those expenses for the technology in the courtroom. So they are requesting funding specifically for personal protective equipment, furniture, desktop podiums for each courtroom. That was actually requested by one of the judges. Interestingly, they're incurring extra juror costs because of potential quarantining and people getting sick. And so again, the judges have requested additional jurors, and that's 25 per trial. They're requesting equipment for video conferencing. And finally, just to highlight that contractual work in the amount of $9,393 that we're adding. So this project request is a total of $28,548. And with that, I'm happy to answer questions, or if you'd like, Donna Lee, our Clerk of District Court, is available.
Good morning, Donna Lee. Are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
You can hear you now. Well, welcome. Do you have anything else to add before we go on?
No, I think Christina covered our needs pretty well. She's been great to work with and such an asset to us all, I'll tell you.
Thank you, Donna Lee. Commissioners, any questions for Christina or Donna Lee? With that, Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Lloyd.
I'd like to move to approve, authorize the chairman to sign resolution number 20-10GR-02 and all required documentation for the submission of a coronavirus relief grant application for the Sweetwater County Clerk of District Court.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Lloyd to approve and authorize chairman to sign all documents. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield. Commissioners, any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Congratulations, Donna Lee, and
Thank you.
have a good day, and thanks for joining us. Okay, Ms. Marshall, you're up again. You're muted, Christina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a surprise visitor in my office a minute ago. So anyhow, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I am joined here with our Public Works Director, Jean Legursky, and Tim Knight This project is actually almost part 2 of the first application we had submitted last June. So the first item they're requesting is more personal protective equipment. You've noticed these nice containers of hand sanitizer that need to be refilled, gloves. Marty in purchasing had mentioned that potentially we might need a pod to store all this. So that estimated cost is $3,000 to get us through December. And then the second item is regarding your commissioner's meeting room that's under construction and renovation for that adaptive reuse for social distancing. We found that there was a shortfall in the estimate of the technology as well as electrical. Now, I will do my best to get this through. Typically with grants, you can't go back and say, oops, you know, it came in higher, but we will try. And it's a unique grant, so why not try? And with that, I will ask Jean or Tim if they want to add anything to this.
Gentlemen, anything to add? Tim, Jean?
Mr. Chairman, there's not much really to add that Christina hasn't covered. Just on the electrical side of it, basically all it was about $2,500 for some extra wiring and extra cores. Once we got into the tear out, we realized we needed some extra stuff.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Legursky. Anything else? Commissioners, any questions for Christina, Mr. Legursky, or Mr. Knight? No further questions. Commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding this resolution?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield.
make a motion to approve and authorize the chairman to sign resolution number 20-10-GR-03 and all required documentation for the submission of the coronavirus relief grant application for the Sweetwater County Facilities Department.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the resolution and authorize the chairman to sign all necessary documents. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. Any further discussion, commissioners? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, Jean and Tim. Up next, Ms. Marshall, you've got another one.
Okay, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, this application is for the Land Use Department. I'm not sure if Eric is actually joining us. He's been manning the front desk, he told me. But anyhow, this project consists of one laptop for an administrative assistant who, in case, has to work from home and telecommute, as well as to add video conferencing equipment to the conference room. As you know, they hold P&Z meetings and have lots of legal responsibilities. So that's to promote the virtual environment. The total project budget is $4,800. And with that, I will ask Eric if he has anything to add, but he may not be on here because he's manning the front desk.
No, he's right on there, Ms. Marshall. Oh. Eric, anything to add? Welcome. You're muted. You're muted, Eric.
Sorry, I thought we had passed mine. I was going by the agenda and I thought, so I went up and told Christina, hey, I think we already, so yeah, I got pulled to the counter for a bit. But anyway, no, just with we've got situations, we have high risk employees. So that's where the taking home of the laptop has become necessary. And the video conferencing, just like Christina stated, will help us with Planning and Zoning Commission meetings, something that we did not budget for in this fiscal year. But anyway, thank you, Christina. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Christina. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Bingham or Ms. Marshall? No further questions. Commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding this resolution?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Johnson.
I'd make motion to approve resolution number 20-10-GR-04, a resolution authorizing submission of a coronavirus relief grant application to the State Loan and Investment Board on behalf of the governing body of Sweetwater County, and authorize the chairman to sign said documents.
We have a motion to approve and authorize chairman to sign said documents. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Lloyd. Any further discussion, commissioners? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Eric. And commissioners, with that particular action, you have managed to move us ahead of our agenda time-wise. So moving on, coming up next will be Ms. Marshall again with, go ahead, Christina.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, this marks the halfway point of my agenda items. Just wanted to point out the previous 4 were for core county departments. Now we're moving to the outside entities comprised of component units and a joint powers board in which the county is a member. So we are not just submitting an application. These 4 entities are requesting the county to sponsor the applications. If we're successful, the award would be to Sweetwater County, and then it gets passed through to the outside entity, just to be clear on that. And it is our responsibility to report this in our audit. So this next item, and I see the airport director, Devin Brubaker, is on here with us. This project is also to assist with expenses related to the public health emergency. Now, as you know, the airport provides numerous critical aviation services, and so they are striving to improve the safety for all airport users. So the items that they're requesting in this application includes sanitization items. This is personal protective equipment, cleaning services, cleaning equipment. This ranges from hand sanitizer, disinfecting wipes, masks, janitorial services, cleaners, floor scrubber, sprayers, touchless stations, signage for social distancing, self-cleaning products for touch points, and so on. That is $133,453.46. Next, they're requesting technology and equipment for virtual telework and meetings. So that's Zoom subscriptions, laptop, and conference room technology. That total cost is $6,709.18. Next, they're looking for HVAC improvements for air quality. So they're looking at purchasing ionization units as well as a RTU replacement. That total cost would be $160,350 or $55. And finally, the fourth group of expenses is furniture, terminal seating for public area and hold room. These are not lazy boy recliners. This is furniture that can be disinfected for the safety of everyone. So that cost is $112,307. These expenses were not included in the airport's original budget. As I mentioned, this would be passed through to the county. The total request is $412,824.64. And with that, do you have any questions for me, or Devin, would you like to add anything?
Thank you, Ms. Marshall. Good morning, Mr. Brubaker. Thank you for joining us. Glad you come aboard. Do you have anything to add, Devin? You're muted, Devin.
Darn technology. Mr. Chairman, thank you. So first of all, I just want to thank Christina. Christina's been outstanding over the last several weeks, as always, helping us through this process. We have well over 100,000 square foot of facilities up here. Large amounts of those are public areas. It's put a huge amount of responsibility on the airport to maintain a level of safety so the traveling public and our critical services that we offer here are able to continue without any issues. So these expenses are absolutely critical to what we are trying to accomplish what we've already accomplished and what we want to continue to accomplish through the end of the fiscal year. So would appreciate your support on this resolution and look forward to working with Christina in the coming weeks and months to make sure we meet all of the numerous requirements that come along with this money.
Thank you, Mr. Brubaker. Commissioners, any questions for Devin or Christina? With no questions, commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding this resolution?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Smith.
I move that we approve resolution number 20-10-GR05 and authorize the chairman to sign in blue ink all required documents required for the submission of the coronavirus relief grants for the Southwest Wyoming Regional Airport.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and authorize the chairman to sign with blue ink all necessary documents. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield. Any further discussion, commissioners? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Well, thank you, Devin. I guess we'll be talking to you here in a little bit, so stay aboard. Thank you. Christina, you're still up, young lady.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, commissioners, the next application is for the Sweetwater Events Complex, and Candy Pendleton is with us. So the events complex is pretty interesting as a project because you think of, again, public health or, critical services, but our events complex is actually very important too, and they want to continue activities for the safety of the public. So they are requesting funding for several items so that they can hold activities and events safely and limit social distancing and exposure to the coronavirus. So the items they are requesting in this application is technical equipment that includes smart screens, a camera, projector, iPads, laptops for virtual tours and events, teleworking, events tracking from a distance, and so on. That is for $51,999.90. Next, they're requesting funding for signage, equipment, and mobility. That includes printing a printer so they can print up signage, supplies, directional signs, floor decals. That total is $7,481.38. Next, they're requesting funding for personal protective equipment. That includes sanitizing stations, caddies, floor scrubber, a sanitizer. That total is $32,541.92. Next, they're also requesting funding for furniture and new flooring. That would be to replace the carpet and also to purchase chairs and tables that can be disinfected or sanitized and to increase social distancing. That totals $37,072.40. The final item of this application would be crowd control equipment. That's room dividers, ticket booth barricades. That total is $85,211.60. The total application is $214,307.20. One thing I'd like to note is in each application, the entities have to disclose other funding that they can apply for. The events complex has had no other opportunities. So I think this collaboration is really unique for that. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, or perhaps Candy would like to add some more for this project.
Thank you, Christina. Good morning, Candy, and welcome.
Good morning. We appreciate your help on this. We appreciate Christina's help. She's been great. We have contacted her several times saying, hey, can we apply for this? Hey, can we get this money? And unfortunately, the answer has been no until now. But we're excited about this grant option. We actually heard about it initially from Camplex in Gillette. They were successful in getting some SLIB money on the last round. So we used their formula and some of their equipment and then talked to Christina and came up with this list. And all of this would be vital for us moving forward with our events that we have now, and then of course would help us down the road. It's not going away in 2021, so we figure we better be prepared for it, and we'd appreciate your support.
Thank you, Candy. Appreciate it. It's a great project. Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Pendleton or Ms. Marshall?
Yeah, as the liaison to the events complex, two things. I really appreciate Candy and Christina's continued to look for some assistance, because like they both mentioned that they looked at a lot of options and nothing has been available up to this point. So I was really excited to find some options that would work for the events complex. Number two, Candy, I just want to note where it says crowd control equipment, room dividers, ticket booths, barricades. I was very disappointed as the liaison there wasn't stuff like tasers, because when I saw crowd control, that's what I thought. Yeah, for the commissioner. All right, so that's but thank you, and even though with my disappointment with crowd control, otherwise great work both.
Thank you, Commissioner Lloyd. Other commissioners, any other questions for Ms. Marshall or Ms. Pendleton? With that, commissioners, what's your pleasure with this resolution?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to move and approve the authorization, move to approve and authorize the chairman to sign resolution number 20-10-GR-06 and all required documentation for the submission of a coronavirus relief grant applications for the Sweetwater Events Complex.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and authorize the chairman to sign. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield. Any further discussion, commissioners? With that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations, Candy, and thank you again, Christina.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Candy. Have a good day and be safe.
Thanks.
All right, Christina, you're up again.
Okay, Mr. Chairman and commissioners, this 7th application is for Memorial Hospital of Sweetwater County. And as you all know, with the healthcare crisis, they are heavily impacted. And it's a privilege to work on this application too, but one of the most fun parts of it was working with someone with a very similar last name. So I'm Christina Marshall, and I'm working with Tiffany Marshall, who's also on the line. We've had a lot of emails. So anyhow, the hospital has applied for this funding directly, and they had an allocation by the State Loan and Investment Board. They have actually exceeded that. And because we were allocated the $6 million, which we had not had projects for to that dollar amount, I reached out to them also for sponsorship. So this would be an award to Sweetwater County and pass through. The hospital had more needs, and so they couldn't get it funded in the regular route. So again, it's about providing health services and limiting exposure to the coronavirus disease. So they are requesting 4 types of expenses. The first type is for technology and equipment. That includes the Zoom licenses, webcams, and laptops for $92,849.92. Next, they'd like to do ventilator upgrades and purchase. So that involves software for their current ventilator and an additional ventilator. That total amount is $21,164.34. Third, they're looking at getting reimbursement for 10 temperature kiosks that monitor the temperature of individuals entering the hospital. That amount is $27,422. Now, I will note that originally that did not include shipping, so I have actually increased the application by $27, and that's reflected on the final resolution that Sally has. The last item is medical testing equipment to test for CO infections for COVID-19 patients. That cost is $292,701. The revised amount of the application is $435,165, just to be clear. And with that, I will ask if Tiffany would like to add anything, or if commissioners, if you have any questions.
Thank you, Christina. Good morning, Tiffany. Thank you for joining us.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Do you have anything to add, Tiffany?
I just want to say thank you to the commission and to Christina for thinking of our hospital. Of course, we've been hit hard and we've been doing everything that we can to keep both our staff and the community safe. We've been very, very appreciative and lucky that SLIB has supported a lot of the requests that we've needed to ensure that safety. And as we're wrapping up the year and looking into 2021, I think these things will definitely help our hospital and help with that safety and help with that community needs. So we really appreciate you sponsoring our requests, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Tiffany. Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Marshall or Ms. Tiffany?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Johnson.
Just a comment. I'd like to compliment the hospital and especially the staff that are taking care of all of us. I think they've done an outstanding job, and I follow what's going on in the counties throughout the state of Wyoming, and I think we're very fortunate to have the hospital that we do have and the staff that we do have there.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. I'd like to echo your comments. Thank you. Commissioners, any other comments or questions for Ms. Marshall or Ms. Tiffany? With no further comments, commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding this resolution?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield.
I would like to make a motion and authorize the chairman to sign resolution number 20-10-GR-07 and all required documentation for the submission of the coronavirus relief grant application for Memorial Hospital of Sweetwater County.
We have a motion to approve and authorize the chairman to sign. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Yes, and please pass the word on up there at the hospital how much the commission appreciates the work that's being done for everybody in the county. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I will pass that on to our staff.
Thank you and be safe. Ms.
you.
Marshall, you're still up again.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I got good news. This is the last one for today, but I'll be back with more.
Good.
So, and I believe, actually, we have two Pizzatos on. Okay, there's Laura. I see Laura Schmidt-Pizzato who's joined us. So anyhow, this is our very last, but not least. And like I said, this mental health type of work is really that silent urgency, I think, going on in our community. So this application is the second application the county would be sponsoring. This is for, again, several items so that it can safely continue providing mental health services in office buildings, group homes, or online, so that exposure to the coronavirus disease is reduced or avoided. So there's numerous cost categories in this application. The first group is for telehealth, and that includes 22 laptops as well as window terminal services licenses. That cost is $32,187.80. Next item is to get furniture that can be sanitized, replace carpet with flooring and supplies for a group home that will be used for quarantining. I don't know if that's a word for quarantine. The total cost would be $38,252. Next, third category is disinfectants. Southwest Counseling would like to purchase sprayer systems with disinfectant. That cost is $9,390. Next, they would like to upgrade their air handler boiler. That's their HVAC system. That is at a cost of $242,000. Next, they would like to purchase acrylic partitions, you know, the windows and mounts for $4,908. Next, they'd like to purchase antimicrobial furniture, chairs, sofas, and that can be disinfected as well. That is at a cost of $76,539.10. And last, they would like to purchase items for social distancing signage, such as floor decals and wall signs. That cost is $1,038.11. The total application would be $404,315.01. And with that, I will ask Laura if she'd like to add anything about this project and answer any questions.
Thank you, Christina. Good morning, Laura. Welcome again. Glad to see you.
Thank you, Chairman Winling. Commissioners, I'm going to say that the other Pizzato that's on here should definitely not be doing this portion, and I will not talk about the airport whatsoever because that would be a disaster. Our application today, it does have quite a few different portions to it. The biggest thing that we're finding is that we need to have a quarantine group home for people who are both quarantined, waiting to get into the population. So we test them before and then they have to wait for the results. And then we also need a house that would accommodate somebody who's positive. We did have our first positive COVID case in our residential programs a couple of weeks ago. And while we were able to isolate that completely to that one person, we really need to have that in another facility. So that's one of the costs. Another thing that I'll just point out is we've been super lucky to get all the hand-me-down furniture from the county for years. And unfortunately, almost all of it's cloth. So we would really like to get some furniture that could be disinfected. The HVAC upgrades is for 2 facilities, and that's for Foothill and for College Hill. And both of them have, and this is not my expertise, I'm a clinical social worker, so believe me, I don't really understand all of this, but my understanding is that there is not a lot of air exchange for fresh air to the air that's in the building. It's kind of closed systems. And so that's why you get into that boiler portion, is that you need to have new boilers that would be able to handle bringing in cold air in the winter. So, and then last, Christina has been fantastic on this grant, as well as the prior one, as well as a dozen other grants throughout the year. So we have to really recognize all of the assistance that she has provided us and many of the other organizations. So I'll stand for any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Laura. Commissioners, any questions for either Christina or Ms. Laura?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Smith.
Hey, Laura, with the next LIB meeting on the November 5th and our awesome deadline of December 15th, with a big HVAC project like that, do you think you're going to be able to accomplish that beforehand, before the time, the deadline?
Commissioner Winling, Commissioner Smith, yes, we do anticipate being able to do that. And my understanding from Christina is that we can bill out some of that without having all of the work completely accomplished, as long as the work is going to be accomplished very, very quickly.
Fair enough. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions, commissioners? With no further questions, commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding this resolution?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Lloyd.
I'd like to move to approve and authorize the chairman to sign resolution number 20-10-GR-08 and all required documentation for the submission of a coronavirus relief grant application for Southwest Counseling Service.
We have a motion to approve and authorize chairman to sign. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Miss Laura. Appreciate you being here today, and pass the word on to everybody in your organization. Please stay safe.
Thank you so much.
And with that, commissioners, Ms. Marshall, thank you very much. And we can only echo what we've heard from all the applicants with regard to your work in this measure. And I sense there's been many sleepless nights, and there may continue to be. But again, too, whatever work it takes for the citizens and the businesses of Sweetwater County, I guess that's why we're here, right?
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much and appreciate your work very much. With that, commissioners, as we move on to tab L, which is resolution for general election judges. And to present that is our clerk, Miss Lane. Clerk Lane, good morning again.
Good morning, Chairman Winling and commissioners. I brought a resolution to you previously to set election day salaries for our judges. And in the meantime, with COVID, we have come across a situation that I am requesting to put into place a new resolution for the general election. We have some directives where we can allow for the absentee ballots to be opened 2 days, or actually it's 29th and 30th, I believe, of October. And we have our counting board comes in and does that for us. However, the way the rate was set before, it was $185 per election day. We have found that it doesn't take all day. Sometimes it was just a half a day, and I had no way to prorate that payment. So I've added in for our judges different pay for those that come in on instead of November 3rd, they'll be here October 29th and 30th. And I would like to add in that we have a half day pay for those days that the judges only work a half a day.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Clerk Lane regarding this resolution and the pay for election judges? With no questions, commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding resolution 20-10-CL-01?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield.
I make a motion to approve resolution 20-10-CL-01 as presented and allow the chairman to sign. Nope, it's got all of us.
Oh,
in blue.
in blue. Okay, we have a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. Any further discussion, commissioners? No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I've got to hear a couple more.
Aye.
Thank you. Anybody opposed, same sign? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on, tab M is a contract between Southwest Counseling Services and the Sweetwater County Sheriff's Office in regard to women's jail-based treatment program. And I believe with us for that may be our sheriff, Miss Sheriff Grossnickel. Are you there? You're muted, Sheriff.
I am. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for verifying regarding that fire. I appreciate it very much. So.
Absolutely. I was up there this weekend and I didn't see anything of that nature. So that's why I called Sheriff Lear.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. It helps keeps the rumor mill down. With that, you have a request. So the floor is yours, Sheriff.
This request is our contract with Southwest Counseling to continue our services for our female inmates. We did have to do some moving around of technology so we could provide this virtually, and we got that done. Thanks to Tim, we did that in a timely manner, probably faster than we thought. We did have to address how many times a week the service is provided, and unfortunately we had to take it down to twice a week. But we have been working with Southwest Counseling to provide as many of those services as possible.
Thank you, Sheriff. I see Miss Laura's on. Miss Pizzato, do you have anything to add regarding this request?
Thank you, Chairman Winling. our state contract allows for us to do jail-based services, and that is for our men in the jail. And so this is to make up that difference and be able to provide services for the women in the jail. And Sheriff Grossnickel and Commissioner Smith were really instrumental in working on this to get these services into the jail specifically for the women.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners, for either Sheriff Grossnickel or Mrs. Pizzato?
Mr. Chairman, I do have one.
Commissioner Smith.
Thank you. In the contract, it says that it'll be November through June 30th, November 2020, June 30th, 21, equal monthly installments of $5,000. So $35,000, but then it says the total amount will not exceed $53,333, et cetera, et cetera. So is there a chance that goes up, or was the dates not matching with the dollar amount, or just curious there how that worked out?
Sure.
That's because we did cut the programming back to 2 days a week. We left that in there in the hopes that things will get better and we'll be able to bring the services back to full strength as they were in the past.
Perfect. How come you have to go back to 2 days a week right now? What's the hang up?
Because of the other programs and the limited capacity that we have in the detention center with the virtual equipment. And I know Southwest Counseling was kind of strained in their services also.
Perfect. Thank you. And I did just want to comment as well that that's a hugely important program. And I actually just ran into a beneficiary of this program last evening at the grocery store. And she and her 6 children are very grateful for the program, and that she's doing really well. A graduate of about a year ago, something like that. So thank you both for providing that, and it is much appreciated and much needed.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. It's always great to hear success stories when there's so much great work going on, but you just never hear about it. So thanks for sharing that success story, and thank you, Ms. Pizzato and Sheriff, for providing those services for those ladies. Any other questions for either the Sheriff or Ms. Pizzato, Commissioners? Mr. De Leon, you'll have time to review this as per the motion reads when it's completed.
I did, and the as the sheriff identified, the contract goes through June, so that will give the board time as the board is going through the different entities and to discuss this this program along with the other services and the other amounts that the county provides to Southwest, and to try to figure out how to get all services on the table and all amounts to Southwest on the table moving forward for next year.
Thank you, Mr. De Leon. Any questions for Mr. De Leon, Commissioners? With that, Commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding this contract between the Sarah Sheriff's Office and Southwest Counseling?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Johnson.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract between Southwest Counseling Service and the Sweetwater County Sheriff's Office as presented, and authorize chairman to sign said document.
We have a motion and with authorization for the chairman to sign, motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. Commissioners, any further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Sheriff. Thank you, Miss Laura, and continue the good work out there, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Be safe, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we move forward to tab N, and I'd like to welcome Mr. Brubaker back for the Commercial Terminal Modernization Program funding discussion. Welcome back again, Mr. Brubaker, and I believe you have other guests with you. Would you introduce them to us, please, and what their role may be with the airport?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. So with me today, I have Brett Pizzato, who is our vice chairman of our airport board, and he believe he's calling us all the way from California. So appreciate him dialing in for this. But Mr. Chairman, we're here today to have a discussion with the commission. All of you received an email from me over the weekend with a very detailed, I felt like a very detailed breakdown over today's discussion. But largely, what we're here to talk about is our commercial terminal project, and in an effort to keep you guys up to speed and hopefully get some direction from the commissioners on how to move forward. Our commercial terminal project, the $18.5 million expansion and renovation of our commercial terminal, is moving very quickly, largely due to the pressures from the FAA in terms of the funding that they are providing to the project. Briefly, they are providing a little over, actually just a little under $13 million of federal dollars. YDOT currently has a little over 1.5 million in the project. And then we are applying for Wyoming Business Council dollars of $3 million on the December 1st deadline, which I'll be back in front of you all at your next meeting asking for approval of a resolution supporting that application. Last time I spoke with you back at the beginning of September, I mentioned to you that we had a challenge in front of us, and that was how we cover the cost of our design for the terminal project, until which time the grants can be drawn against, because they're all reimbursable grants. With design costing $1.6 million, that presented a very, very tough situation for the airport board, which carries well south of 20 days cash on hand. And it's even worse today because of the COVID-19 situation. What we have done over the last month or so, since the last we talked, I think it's been a little over a month and a half, is we've been trying to find solutions on how we can bridge that gap and not come to the city and not come to the county asking for $1.6 million at this time. We have been successful in reducing those requests, or basically reducing the amount that we need to come up with on the gap financing, if you will. So the first aspect we were able to achieve is Wyoming Department of Transportation moved $500,000 of their commitment that they had in fiscal year 22 to fiscal year 21, which was approved by the Aeronautics Commission on Tuesday of last week. So that grant is will be in hand by the end of this week. That'll help us draw down and help pay for design costs. That grant comes with a $333,333 match required from the local communities. The other, basically half of the project, it's not quite half, but $780,000 of the design, we have worked with our design team, TO Engineers and Mead and Hunt, who is our architect on the project, and they have agreed to finance that $780,000 at 0% interest for the airport board, basically sitting on the accounts receivable until which time the grant comes in. Coupled with that partnership with them and the $500,000 grant from the state, we basically are left with that local match of $333,333. Over the weekend, I sent you 3 basic options, and I want to, before I jump into those options, I want to just state that these are 3 options. There may be more options, and we're all ears to those options. I feel confident that speaking for the board and saying that our board is looking at this as a partnership and how we can work together to find solutions. So the first option that I presented to you in your email was actually all 3 of these options were based on discussions I had with our liaison, Commissioner Smith, and then follow-up conversations with most of you. The first option is kind of option A, that's most beneficial to the airport in the current situation as we approach the Business Council for funding. And that would include the county nearly immediately committing to the full local match on the entire commercial terminal project, which right now is looking like $850,000. And that's the county portion. The city of Rock Springs under this scenario would be on the hook for $425,000 if we follow the joint powers agreement split. This option is the preferred option for the airport board, and the reason for that, as we approach our final funding partner, the Wyoming Business Council, having been through this process a couple of years ago for our GA facility, they are very eager to understand how the local money is going to be there for the match on the project. And because I'm not a county employee and because I'm not a county commissioner, it makes it very difficult to answer those questions without sounding like I'm speaking on behalf of the county commission and the Rock Springs City Council. And it makes it difficult to answer those questions without committing to something on behalf of the commission or potentially future commissions. Now, with that said, we do have an option 2 that is also acceptable to us. It's not as beneficial, but it will work. Option 2 would be that we tackle the $333,333 situation that's before us right now. If that were to be split using the traditional 2/3, 1/3, the county would be $222,222, and the city would be $111,111. While this option solves the immediate need and the immediate problem, it does not provide that long-term funding certainty that would benefit us as we approach the Wyoming Business Council for the next round of funding from them. And then finally, the third option is the if you will, the nuclear option, and it's not a fun option. It basically is there because we recognize the county and the city are in dire financial situations as we move forward over the next couple of years. And it basically contemplates a situation where the commission and the city cannot come up with a local match. And then we would have to tackle the challenge of turning down the funding with the FAA and YDOT, which at this point, and the Business Council, and at this point add up to about $17.1 million that we would need to turn back to the FAA and the various state agencies. Brett, I asked Brett to join us to speak on behalf of the board, talk about how we've been working on this project for quite a long time and how it might impact our community a little bit more.
Thank you, Devin. Good morning, Brett, and welcome. Can't hear you, Brett. You're muted.
Now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
All right, Chairman. Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. This is one of those opportunities that I really think the community, really needs to support the airport. I mean, we're looking at, a little over $17 million we can get grant money to support this project. And it would be really beneficial in the long term to help both the community, economic development, as a manager of one of our facilities in Sweetwater County, it's critical for our business needs. It's critical for our recruiting, and I'm sure it's the same across the board. And then just having that airport in Southwest Wyoming is crucial to the state. So I know it's a lot of money, and times are tough right now. But I just look at for that much money to get what we're going to get out of this airport, it's the right decision. And I just really, appreciate you all for your support to making this happen and making Sweetwater County, what it should be. So if anybody has any questions for me, that'd be fine too, Chairman.
Thank you, Brett. Before we ask any questions, I'd like to make a comment, Brett. Brett, you're in California, right? Well, I want you to know that from this end of it, your screen is blinking a lot. And I think it's directly related to the fact that those electrons are either windmill generated or they're solar generated. And if they were powered by coal, your picture would be as great as ours is. So I just want you to know that. That's my observation. And I might be sorry for you that you're in California right now. All right, with that, commissioners, any questions for Mr. Brubaker or Mr. Pizzato?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Johnson?
I couldn't agree with you more about those green electrons. I hope the blackouts continue for them. We need to take care of Wyoming first. Brubaker made the comment that option 2 is not so acceptable. It seems to me it's very acceptable to the county. Explain to me why that's not a good option.
Devin?
Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Johnson, I believe I said that it's an acceptable but not as beneficial of an option to the airport board. It is an acceptable option, and it will achieve what we're hoping to achieve in the short term. It does present some challenges in terms of the discussion with the Business Council. However, in my conversation with Commissioner Lloyd this morning and last night, one of the comments I made is we can overcome that challenge in how we word a creatively crafted letter of support for the project from the commission, where it's careful not to commit future commissions for funding, but also recognize that the commission is willing to partner and work with the airport board to find solutions for the local match. Basically, what I'm trying to achieve, Commissioner Johnson, is be able to stand in front of the Wyoming Business Council Board of Directors or the SLIB board in March and April and be able to say to them that we have a local partnership that is committed to finding those local monies. And I got to be careful because, once again, I don't want to speak on behalf of the commission, the county, and so forth. So we're just trying to navigate that and be creative in how we do it. So option 2 is perfectly acceptable, and it won't cause any heartache for the airport board. It's just trying to navigate those waters where we can speak confidently to the Wyoming Business Council and the SLIB.
Thank you, Devin. Commissioner Johnson, to answer your question.
Yeah,
Thank
yes,
you.
he did.
Other questions for Devin or Mr. Pizzato, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Smith.
Devin, if we were to do our entire commitments of the 850 currently, it's will be invoiced monthly. How long do you imagine that would take to collect the $850,000 portion of the county?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Smith, if we were to go with the option A, the $850,000 for the full 2/3 of the local match, it would be between now and ballpark September of 2022 that those reimbursements will be requested. Very good question. Thank you for asking that. And if I can just follow up, option 2, it would be basically between now and next August or September ballpark of 2021 for option 2.
Thank you. And just my comment, this commission has committed to the airport. So I think it's just a matter of how we do it. And I'm open to that and the other opinions, certainly. I think that it could be helpful if there's not too much grief caused amongst my fellow commissioners. The option 1 with the committing to the 850 now, that's what we say we're going to do eventually. So, over the next 2 years, we're facing budget cuts and difficulties, but I think that just sends the message to everybody else that, we are committed to this and we're going to be doing it. Doing the math, for $850,000, it's less than 5% of the project. I don't know any one of us that wouldn't put in 5% to get something worthwhile accomplished. So, like I say, previously we voted to be committed to the airport. Now we're looking at the allocation of funds. Open to 1 or 2. I'm not really open to 3 because I think we've already voted that we do support this. But my opinion would be number 1. So, love to hear from my fellow commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Any other comments, other commissioners?
Yeah, I'd like to.
Oh, Commissioner Boyd.
Ms. Shanfield, go ahead and go first.
I want to hear what you have to say. Mr. Chairman, I think that this is something I'm speaking on behalf of economic development as well as our industry. Craig Rood said it very well this morning as well during public comment, in that this airport is a key to economic development for our community. This includes diversification of our economy as well as supporting the current industries that we have. I think it's very important that we really keep that in mind, knowing that we support this airport fully. And I also want to give props to Devin. I think that he's been actively working on finding funding for this project. $17 million in funding that's a lot of money, and it's been a lot of work over the past 5 years. So I wanted to tell him good job, and look forward to hearing what Commissioner Lloyd has to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Shankville. Commissioner Lloyd.
All right, I'm not sure if I'm as excited to hear what I have to say, but I'm glad you are, Lauren. But first, I want to thank Devin throughout this process. Anytime we've had issues or situations like this, Devin's always forthright. And even last night when I had a bunch of new questions at 9 o'clock, we were able to figure some stuff out. And I do also appreciate, I asked him to call me at 12:32 the other day, and he was very prompt at calling me at 12:32. But with that being said, I do agree. The bang for the buck is really solid here, especially if our shares does stay around that $850,000 range. My concern, though, is if we don't get the business development grants as a county, we are then looking at our share being $2,334,000. Am I correct, Devin?
That is correct. If the Business Council funds do not come in, that would be the local amount for the county.
And at that point, it does become a little bit of a concern for me. And the reason is with the current financial state we're in, we're not replacing 10 positions. We're freezing hiring. We cut a component agency last time to the point of having to shrink their employment base 40%. That does become difficult for me. I've always been a supporter of the airport. And I know a year and a half ago, we did say we support this project, but that was before COVID and many more things hit. And I do think that makes us have to look at the budget a little bit different. Personally, I don't think I would vote for option one at this time because of the dollar value. I would feel more inclined to support number 2 as an option. I also will tell you, I also feel if we vote for either option, it just further commits us to the money of finishing out the project eventually, even though we can't put that on another commission, and some of that vote may end up happening that way. But my concern is if that and we can't predict the future. And like you've been very honest with that, Devin. My concern though is that if we become pot committed and our share becomes up $1.5 million more, and what really is a very economic trying time. And then the question then becomes, and I know we're just now starting the strategic planning, is where does that sit in the hierarchy of needs? And are there bigger, more important projects, or there, where do we get the bang for the buck? And I think it kind of shades me to lean towards some of this is based upon the work you've done and the fact that even at the 2.3 million, we are getting a great return on investment. But with that being said, it's just that right time. So I guess that's kind of where I sit. But at this point, I think I would support a line item option 2 more.
Thank you, Commissioner Lloyd. Any other comments, commissioners? Well, I guess I get to comment last. Always like that. First of all, I think we go in there. If we were doing an application for a grant through the SLID, I think we have to hedge, and we have to have ourselves presented in a position to let them know we're committed to see this project through and put ourselves in the best position to get as much money from them as possible. I always felt that this commission has supported that airport 110% and has done everything they possibly can. And I can't see where it would be beneficial for us to not support it at 100% and put it out front, that to the SLID board and the Business Council that we're here and removing all doubt of any future access. So with that being said, both options are good, but we're talking about paying it over time. We're talking about that type of thing, and I think it'll be invoiced. So if some other money comes along, the airport, if it's possible, can not draw on that. That'd be great. But I think we're missing the boat if we don't position ourselves to present ourselves to the SLIB board as well as business council that, hey, we're all in and no questions asked. So I would support, I think both of them are good, but you know, I would support option one. So that's where I'm at. So with that, any more questions, commissioners? For Devin. Jeff, you're the liaison.
No, are we ready for a motion today?
Well, if there's no more questions, you're on.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve option one to commit $850,000 to the Southwest Wyoming Regional Airport Terminal Renovation Project.
Okay, we have a motion for option one, which is to make the commitment of $850,000 over time, which will be drawn on, I believe. We have a motion by Commissioner Smith. Is there a second?
I'll make a second.
We have a second by Commissioner Shanefield. Any further discussion, commissioners?
Roll call, please.
You've got it, Commissioner Johnson.
And I will just make a comment. I will vote no because I support option two is the better option for the county. Though I do support the airport and want to see the project move on. I prefer it move on into option two.
Commissioner Lloyd, you will have that opportunity to vote yay or nay as we go through the roll call. And then we'll go from there. So Commissioner Smith, you made the motion.
Yes.
Commissioner Shanefield.
No.
Commissioner Lloyd.
No.
Commissioner Johnson.
No.
Commissioner Wendling. Yes. Motion fails. So with that.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Shanefield.
Point of order. Am I able to make a second motion?
John?
Yes, you can.
All right, thank you. You may, Commissioner Shanefield.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we go forward with option two. I agree with Commissioner Lloyd's comments. I support the airport 100%. I'm just concerned about the economic downturn in our community right now and willing to offer a letter of support from the commission as well moving forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Shanefield. We have a motion for option two, which I believe for the county would be $222,222 for their share. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a double second, so we'll give it to Commissioner Johnson. So you're both right on time. You lit up the same way. So any further discussion, commissioners? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Going back to a letter of support. I think generally for any grants, I believe Christina has helped us with that. And do the commissioners object for Christina to prepare that letter with the assistance from Mr. Brubaker if necessary and present that to us for our next meeting? Thumbs up?
I think that's reasonable.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Johnson and all the other commissioners. So let me look through my screens real quick. I got Christina's on. So Devin will make sure you get a strategically worded letter for the complex. But as you know, all of us as commissioners support that airport, submit the project, and we will continue moving forward and helping wherever we can, I believe. Thank you. Anything else, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, if I can just say thank you to the commission for your continued support. It's been fantastic to work with all of you, and we take a lot of pride here in the airport in trying to make a brighter future for the whole community, the whole region, and our board is in step with along with the staff, our tenants, and it's nice to be able to accomplish things and benefit our community. So appreciate your support. Just a question for you, Mr. Chairman, does there need to be a separate budget hearing next meeting for that, I guess, so I can be prepared for that meeting a little bit better?
Budget amendment. I'm going to think yes, because it's a request for dollars that wasn't part of your budget. So therefore, yeah, we would probably need to do a budget amendment, and with the known piece that it's going to be available and drawn over time, I believe. Is that correct? All right, very good. John, would you disagree?
I don't disagree. I think between now and then, there will probably be some more communication. So as long as there aren't any changes and that it needs to be presented this year.
All right, thank you, John. Did you get that, Devin?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. And would you like me to touch base with Bonnie, or will you guys handle that side of things? I apologize for the questions. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything.
I think you work with Bonnie.
Okay.
That's the way it's been handled in the past, because it'll have to be a public hearing to start with.
All right, great. Well, thank you once again. We look forward to being back in front of you at your next meeting with a resolution of support for the grant application, the letter of support, and hopefully this budget amendment. Once again, thank you very much, and you guys have a great day.
Thank you, Devin, and thank you, Brett, for joining us, and be safe out there and travel back safely. Thank you. Let's moving on. I believe we have our added item, tab O, for the Eden Valley Waste District Board appointment. With that, commissioners, you should have either had an email or Sally sent you a hard packet. And I believe the board appointment cover page would be Solid Waste Disposal District for Eden Valley due to a resignation by one of its members. New applicants, there are I believe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you only may have 4 on your list. We have 2 of the 5 applicants have requested not to be considered at this time. I touched base with them to see if they're interested in that. So that brings us down to 3 applicants to be considered, and that'd be Mark Huffstetler, Shirley DeLambert, and Ron Kolb. With that, those are our 3 applicants. I've been working really close with the Waste District Board. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them, but that's where we're at. Any thoughts, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I would think if you've been working with them, give us your opinion. You know, there's only one of them I know well, so I appreciate your opinion.
Yeah, I'm working closely with their chairman in that we did get a new applicant, Ron Kolb, and I would recommend that, I'd like to recommend that the commission appoint him to the Solid Waste Disposal District of Eden Valley.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Johnson?
I make that motion and appoint Ron Kolb to the Eden Valley Waste Disposal District.
Okay, we have a motion to appoint Ron Kolb. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lloyd. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. With that, commissioners, we'll go into executive session with a motion here. An executive session. Here it is. Got to grab my agenda again. Again, like it was advertised, it'll be personnel. It'll be ambulance proposals update, as well as real estate. Joining us for the real estate will be Gary McLean and Mr. Legursky, I believe, the ambulance, Marty Dernovich. And then, of course, personnel will be Mr. McLean. Mr. McLean will join us also with the real estate. And of course, our esteemed attorney, Mr. De Leon, will be with us as well. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Shanefield to go into executive session. Is there a second?
Second, with the understanding we take a break first.
That's what's coming out of my mouth as soon as we voted.
I like that amendment, Wally.
Okay, we got a second by Commissioner Johnson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. We'll go into executive session, but before we get started, commissioners, let's take a 15-minute break. We'll be back here at 11:55. 11:55, please.